So now, in last session we discussed about indexes, right? Now in this session, let's discuss about one concept called normalization. So this normalization is not part of your development. So it belongs to database designing phase. So most probably the people who are having more than 6 years or 7 years experience, they'll involve in this normalization phase. So if you go to any development, if you take any development, whether it may be BI development, otherwise some application development, otherwise a database development, so two things will be there. One is designing and the second one is development. So always development is very easy compared to designing phase. So in designing phase, first we have to understand the requirements, and after that we have to um, split the requirements into separate tables, and we need to identify the entities. I mean, that is nothing but tables, and what kind of columns we need to have in the tables, and we need to identify the relationship between the tables. So all these things will come under designing phase. So as I said, in designing phase, your data architects, so who are otherwise the people who are having more than 6 years of experience, they'll involve in this normalization phase. So using normalization concept, they'll design their databases. So we're gonna discuss that concept today. So what is mean by normalization? So normalization is a systematic approach of decomposing the table to eliminate the data redundancy and some undesirable characters like inserts, updates, and deletes. So it's a two-step process that puts data into a tabular form by removing the duplicated data from the relation of tables. So normalization is mainly used for two purposes. One is to eliminate the redundant data. Redundant is nothing but useless data. And the second one is ensuring the data dependencies make some sense. There is nothing but data is logically stored or not. So once you finish this one, then you'll get a clear picture about normalization. So in general, we have six type of normal forms: first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, fourth normal form, fifth normal form, and bicode normal form. But in general, in real time, people will go up to third normal forms only. So in your interview also, if anybody asks like what is normalization, just simply give the definition like normalization is used to eliminate the redundant data. Otherwise, normalization is used to decompose the table to eliminate the redundant data. And using normalization concept, will divide the data into multiple tables and will relate the tables which make some sense. So that is normalization. So how many types of normal forms are there? So six type of normal forms are there. So even after that, if anybody asks like what is first normal form, he may ask the question like that. Otherwise, second normal form, third normal form, but nobody will ask like fourth normal form, fifth normal form, and bicode normal form. So don't worry about the remaining. So just concentrate on these three normal forms. So first, let's start with first normal form. So what is this first normal form? So what first normal form will say is a table should not have a repeated columns. That is first normal form. So if you want to be in first normal form, that table should not have the repeated columns. Let's say for example, I'm going to design one table, person details table. Person details table. So where this table is having one structure. See here, this table is nothing but it's just a data. So before creating the table, I'm just giving how the structure is. After that, we'll discuss the problem, and after that, we'll discuss the remedy. Okay. So person ID, this is the first column. Person name, second column, and email, third column, phone number. And in this table, we are maintaining the child, person and child information. So let me give it as child 1. So now let me give the name. So I'm giving the person ID as 10 and name of the person as Sham and email s@s.com and phone number I'm giving it as 910 and he has one child. His name is Fun and this person is having one another child. So to insert the child information, I'm creating one another column and his second child name is Ravi and he has one another child. So I'm creating one another table, a column called child 3 and the child name is Uday. And like that, let me insert one another person details that is 20 and his name is Kiran k@k.com and this guy's mobile number is 920 and this guy is having only one child, Navin. And there is one another guy, let's say his name is Madhu m@m.com. His mobile number is 930 and he has two childs, Honey and Milky. And there is one another guy, his person ID is 40 and that guy name is um, some, just give me one name, Raju. Raju and his email ID is r@r.com and his mobile number is 940 and he has no childs. So this is the data which I have with me right now. So the problem comes now. Let's say, for example, if this Sham had 5 childs, then what we have to do? We have to add 2 more columns, right? And if you observe here for Raju, no column is required because he is not having any child. He don't have any child. And for this Madhu, he need only 2 columns. He don't need this child 3 and child 4, child 5. And if you observe this Kiran is having only one child, he don't need the remaining columns. So it is clearly violating the first norm of form concept, which states there should not be any repeated columns. So hence, to get this table into first norm form, what we'll do is we'll divide this table into multiple entities. So I'll create one table with the name person and in this table I'll maintain only person details like person ID. I'll use this person ID as primary key and name of the person name and email and phone number. Let me copy the data here. Copy, paste it. So now here I'm using this person ID as primary key. And now the children's information I'll maintain it in one another table. Childs. I'm just naming the table as childs. So here person ID I'll use this one as foreign key. And the sequential number of the child. Sequence number of the child and child. Now this person ID column has to go and get the reference from person ID column which is in person table. If the reference is available, then it has to accept the record. If the reference is not available, then it has to throw it saying that the reference is not existing. So now person ID 10. So he had one child, his name is Funny. And the same person ID 10, he has another child too. He is having one another child, that is Ravi. Person ID 10, he had third child, his name is Uday. And person ID 20, he had one child and his name is Navin. And person ID 30, he had one child, the child name is Honey. And person ID 30, he had one another child, second child, his name is Milk. That's it. No need to insert that 40th employee ID, sorry, person ID information, right? Because you don't have any childs. So no need to maintain that information in this particular table. So here, how we have identified, we have just split the data into multiple tables. How we have identified the relationship here. So whenever you are identifying the relationship between the tables, one parent will have multiple childs, right? One parent may have multiple childs, but one child will have only one parent. So whenever you are looking for the relationship, whenever you are trying to identify the relationship between the tables, between two tables, you have to analyze in this way. Like one parent will have multiple childs, but one child will have only one parent. So here if you observe, one parent is having multiple childs, but one child will have only one parent. So always one side will be primary key and m side will be foreign key. Always one side is your parent, m side is your child. Always one side is your primary key, m side is your foreign key. So this is how you need to identify the relationship. So now in between these two tables, now the relationship is 1:m. So these two tables, I just split the data into multiple tables. After that, using this primary key and foreign key, I related these two tables. Using primary key and foreign key. So this is 1:m relationship, and this is first normal form, which states no table should not have repeated columns. Clear? So now let's see the second normal form. So what second normal form will say is all attributes depends on the primary key. So attributes are nothing but columns. So all attributes has to depend on the primary key. That is second normal form. So first, to go into second normal form, first of all, the table should be in first normal form. So what first normal form will state? According to first normal form, a table should not have repeated columns, right? So if the table is not having any repeated columns, then only we can go into second normal form. So as per second normal form, all attributes depends on the primary key. So let me design one table here. Let me give some example here. Project project details, person details, whatever it may be, person details. So I'm just having the data. So let me add it. Project ID, person ID, person name, project code, project code, project name, phone number, email, city, state, country. Now I'm running one big software company, and in my company I have multiple projects. My company is having multiple projects. So let me give the project ID as 1. In this project, one person is working, his ID is 1, and name of an employee is Vijay, and in which project he is working, that project code is project 001, and the project name is project otherwise it's data migration project, data migration. And phone number, it's 910, his phone number is 910, and email ID v@v.com, city Hyderabad, state Telangana state, and country India. Now in one project multiple employees will work, right? So in one project multiple employees will work. So let me let me give the second employee details. Second person, and his name is Pranay, and he is working in project 001, project 001, and data migration is the project, and his mobile number is 920, and his email ID is p@p.com, and he's living in Bangalore. He's from Bangalore, that is in Karnataka state in India. Now, in the same project, one another guy is working. His employee is ID is 3, and his name is Sanjay, and project 001 he is working on, and data migration, and the project code is, sorry, his mobile number is 930, and his mobile number email ID is s@s.com, and he is from Hyderabad, that is in Telangana state, India. Now, one another guy is working in the same project. So that guy name is Vinay. He is working in project 001 in data migration project. His mobile number is 940, and his email ID is vi@vi.com. vi@vi.com, and he is living in Chennai. He is from Tamil Nadu state and India country. So these four employees are working in first project. In a company, multiple projects will work, right? So now let me give the details of second project. So project ID 2, one employee. So in one project, multiple employees can work. In the same way, one employee can work in multiple projects, right? So all these guys are working in the second project too. So all these four employees are working in second project also. Otherwise, three employees are working in second project. So the project code is project 002, and the project name is data extraction project. And these employees mobile number, email ID, and city, state, country will remain same, right? So just I'm copying the details and I just pasting here. So let me remove these guys details. Now in that project, in second project, one guy is working, let's say his person ID is 5 and his name is Sam Kumar, and is working in project 2, and the project is data extraction project, and the mobile number is 950, and his email ID is k@k.com. He is from Bangalore, which is in Karnataka state, that is in India. So this is the data which I have with me right now. So according to second normal form, what second normal form will state is all attributes depends on primary key. All attributes should have to depend on primary key. If I use project ID as primary key, what are all the attributes which depends on the project ID? If I use person ID, what are all the attributes which depends on the project ID? If I use this project ID as primary key, all these columns won't depend on the project ID, right? The columns, the attributes which belongs to projects, only those columns will depend on this project ID, like project code, project name. If I use this person ID as a primary key, all those columns won't depend on the person ID. Only the columns which belongs to person information, like person name, phone number, email, city, state, country, only these columns will depend on the person ID. So now what I'll do is I'll divide the data into multiple entities. That is nothing but multiple tables. I'm naming the table as persons. Person ID, person name, phone number, email, city, state, country. So let me have the details. Let me copy. copy this. Now phone number and email IDs. Let me copy this. Now let me paste it here. Now I just separated person details and I saved that person details in persons table. Now I'll create another table with the name projects. In this table, I'll maintain only the information which belongs to projects. So here I'll use this project ID as primary key, and this table will have this column, and I need to move all the columns which are dependent on this project ID. So what are all the columns which are dependent on this project ID? Project code, project name. These two columns are dependent on the project ID, right? So project ID 1, 2, only two projects are there in my company, so I just given that information. Project codes are project 001 and project 002, and the project names are data migration project, data extraction project. Now this is how I separated the data into multiple entities. So according to normalization concept, we have to remove the redundant data. Here unnecessarily the employee data is repeating, and unnecessarily the project information is repeating, so that I divided the data into multiple entities. That is fine. After that, you have to relate these two tables which make some sense. Now the question comes like how to relate these two tables. Person information is available in persons table. Project information is available in projects table. Here project ID I am using as a primary key. Person ID I am using as a primary key. Now if I use this person ID as foreign key in projects table, in first project, first employee is working. In second project, first employee is working. In what about the remaining guys details? If I write like this, in first project, second employee is working. In first project, third employee is working. What happens? This project ID I'm using as a primary key. So primary key won't allow the duplicate. So obviously it is violating the rule of primary. This is not the way of relating the tables. Now, if I use this project ID as foreign key in this person's table, like first employee is working in first project, second employee is working in first project, third employee is working in first project, fourth employee is working in first project, fifth employee is working in second project, first employee is also working in second project. How can I include that information? If I write like this, first employee working in second project, second employee is working in second project. If I write like this, what happens? Again, this person ID is acting as a primary key which won't allow the duplicates. Again, that is a violation of primary key. So in that case, here if you try to identify the relationship here, one person can work in multiple projects, and in one project multiple employees may work. So one person can work in multiple projects, and in one project multiple employees are working. So if you observe, these two tables are having many to many relationship. So whenever you have many to many relationship between the tables, you can't relate these tables directly. You have to relate using one intermediate table. So instead of relating these two tables directly, we'll create one intermediate table here. Intermediate table, where this intermediate table will can have only foreign key information, like person ID acting as a foreign key which is taking the reference from persons table, person ID column, and project ID which is acting as a foreign key which will take the reference from project ID from projects table. So this person ID will take the reference from this column, and this project ID will take the reference from this column. So whenever you have many to many relationship, to relate these two tables, we'll go with one intermediate table. First person is working in first project. Second person is working in first project. Third person is working in first project. Fourth person is working in first project. First person is working in second project. Second person is working in second project. Third person is working in second project. Fifth person is working in second project. This is how you can have the information in this intermediate table. This is how you can relate these two master tables. When two tables are having M is to M relationship, to relate those two tables, we'll go with one table, that is intermediate table. We'll call this intermediate table as bridge table in SQL Server concepts. In database concepts, we'll call this table as intermediate table. When it comes to SQL Server, we'll call this intermediate table as bridge table. We'll call this table as bridge table. So this is second normal form. Clear? Now let's see the next one, that is third normal form. So when you want to go to the third normal form, first of all the table should be in second normal form. So this table is in second normal form, right? Now I'm just copying that one and we'll discuss the third normal form with the data. So what is the details? Persons. Let me copy this table. Just copy it and I'll paste it here. So now this person, right now I'm having the data: person ID, person name, phone, email, city, state, and country. So what third normal form will say is separate partially dependent columns on the primary key to one another table. So what third normal form will say is it will ask, it says that separate partially dependent attributes on primary key to separate table. Make it as a separate entity. So this person ID is a primary key. So what are all the columns which are directly dependent on the primary key, and what are all the columns which are not directly dependent on the primary key? Yeah. Person name is directly dependent. Phone number is directly dependent. Email directly dependent. City, it is not directly dependent on this primary key. Why? Because if I give the person ID is 1, it has to give the information which is unique to that employee. But if you observe, city Hyderabad, in the same city one another guy is living, Sanjay. So this Hyderabad is not at all related with them. Completely it is not related with Vijay, right? So it is just partially related with this Vijay, partially related with this ID. And state, partially dependent. Country, partially dependent. So what third normal form will say is separate partially dependent attributes to separate table. So person ID, primary key, person name, phone number, email. Only person name, phone number, email, only these values are directly dependent on the primary key. Now separate that location information, that city, state, country information into one another table. I'm naming the table as location. And here I'll use this location ID as primary key, city, state, country. So city, state, country. Let me copy. So we have only 3 cities, 3 records: Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai. Now location ID 1, location ID 2, location ID 3. This is how we'll separate the data. Okay, according to third normal form, we have separated the data into multiple entities. I just separated the partially dependent attributes to one another table. Now you have to relate these two tables. How are you going to relate these two tables? Which table you use as a primary table and which table you use as a child table? Simple. Again, you have to analyze the tables like this, data like this. One person can live in how many locations? One person can live in one location. In one location, multiple persons can live. So 1 is always primary key, parent table. M is always child, foreign key. So here I'll use this location ID as foreign key in persons table. So Vijay is living in first location, and Pranay is living in second location, and Sanjay is living in Hyderabad, and Vinay is living in Chennai. Kumar is living in Bangalore. Bangalore ID is 2. So this location ID will go and take the reference from this location table. Here if you observe, the data is unique, no duplicated data and no repeated columns. So this is how we'll separate the data into multiple entities using normalization concept. So sorry. So these are the three normal forms we have in databases. So what first normal form will say is no repeated columns. And what second normal form will say is separate the attributes which are dependent on the primary key to separate entities. Divide the attributes into separate entities which are directly dependent on the primary key. And what third normal form will say is separate the non-partially dependent, so separate the partially dependent attributes on primary key to one another table, partially dependent attributes to another table. So that is third normal form. So this is about normalization. So that's it for today, and next session we'll discuss another.